Hello. It is Friday, May 15th, 2026. My name is Jake Maaske, and I'm happy to welcome you to Debateless's first inaugural news rundown. Now, of course, we just happened to pick a week, a day, where a bunch of racially tense activity is going on. Like, these stories are hot. We ain't pulling any punches right off rip. Every single story I have, every headline I have is about race, because of course it is. And also, I have to rock the chud look, just to really drive it in there that I'm not messing around. I do make for a good chud. But first thing, debateless.com. It is live. This is probably the most DIY operation of all time. Like, personally, I'm just doing it for the love of the game. Like, that's why I'm here in the first place. And also, look at that. Look at that interview. We got two guys you wouldn't expect to be talking to each other. We got Matt Forney, journalist out of New York City, with Harrison H. Smith from InfoWars. Go check that out. But let's get straight into our first story today, which I will be using the Debateless website for. The Supreme Court on Thursday allowed a man to sue a major logistics company after he lost part of his leg in a semi-tractor trailer crash, a decision that could have ripple effects across the trucking industry. The High Court ruled unanimously in favor of Sean Montgomery, whose parked vehicle was hit by a speeding truck driver on an Illinois highway in 2017. He says C.H. Robinson, the country's largest freight broker, should be liable for the role in putting the driver on the road despite serious red flags. Now, tragic event, but the results, this is a great thing. The whole Indian truckers ordeal just straight up needs to come to a halt. A lot of them, first off, don't even speak English, meaning they quite literally can't even read the road signs. I don't know how they're qualified here, but half the time, too, we'll go into morality. Half the time, I see a video of them killing people, just slamming into vehicles. They don't even show a hint of remorse. They'll just be like, it's just how they operate. Even better examples. You'll see live leak videos of dudes in India just dying in horrific ways. Like, you think of I've seen ones where it's just a dude just slinging a big old stick around, like a knife on the end, and they'll just accidentally slit a dude's throat, or maybe them just running into their natural predator, the train, and it's just like everyone's just like, like they'll like look around like a kid in class worrying about getting detention, because they value cows over human life. They just don't care about human life. Back to the truckers. How it is even allowed in the first place is beyond me. Because it gets even worse when you realize that they're getting these trucking jobs over homegrown American men. Like, you can't tell me we don't have plenty of dudes willing to truck. We do. I promise you. It is quite literally an American stereotype. The big old trucker with his 44-ounce gulp, his big gulp. So I'm more than happy to see trucking companies finally facing consequences for outsourcing jobs to unqualified foreigners. And hopefully this continues and snowballs into the future. Now, before I get to this next story, when I talk about my international brethren, specifically Europeans, Canadians, Australians, I want you to know that I'm on your side. I think we all are going to have to carve our own paths in the future, all different little paths. I'm rooting for you, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to spit it how it is, because there's more here. In Canada, Sukhwinder Sidhu, however you pronounce it, I personally don't care. I think he's from Tatooine, was only given 30 months in prison and a 7-year driving ban for killing Alexandra Paul, an Olympic skater, while driving twice the speed limit. I also saw in the report that he had been driving for 16 hours straight, which is against the law here in America. Obviously, I don't know Canadian trucking laws, but I imagine that was illegal as well. There's also a young child who got their leg broken in the accident. But Canada has just completely let itself go in terms of great replacement. It's only been a thing from since like 2020, like 5 or 6 years. And not only are they obviously being demographically replaced, but these are the consequences that come with it. A drooling moron who has no business being given the blessing of living in Canada kills someone on the job, a very avoidable catastrophe, and he's just given a weak sentence. You know, Canada being as compassionate as they are, you know, of course they just dish out this weak ass sentence because, I mean, they're just consumed as a society by white guilt. They're getting hit the hardest by this, man. Out of most countries in the West, like they've got to be top three, top two, not two, in terms of white guilt just eating at their nation's soul. I mean, our little brother of a neighbor will undoubtedly be consumed by the third world, becoming unrecognizable within the next 20 years if nothing changes, which I hope something does. Pray for the victims and the victims' families. Oh, and it just gets worse. It gets worse. Let's go to the UK. In the UK, an 18-year-old university student was stabbed to death by a Sikh man. I like to say sick because this shit is sick. With an 8-inch knife. Why bring this one up? Oh, well, of course, the British kid bled out in handcuffs. Because why wouldn't he? When the police arrived, the assailant cried, "Racism!" So the cops, oh so very justly, apprehended the potentially racist student. Just how brave of them. Just so honorable. You know, this led to the kid getting no help while the stabbing foreigner got all the aid and attention. I mean, in the report, too, the kid was trying to run away. He was trying to climb a fence, leaving a trail of blood behind them while the sick man chased him. Is this just how justice works in the UK now? You can be a hostile non-white person, cry racism, and immediately have the situation favor you whether you're in the right or not. Of course, there's no evidence of this claimed racism, as if that justifies the murder anyway. I mean, it's just fucking pathetic, dude. Like, white guilt's a cancer. It shouldn't be taken lightly. It's infiltrated our brainwaves, the brainwaves of those in power. It's suicidal. You've heard it before, and I will gladly be parroting it again. And now a young Brit will never grow old because he was denied help by useless, retarded public service members. Again, pray for the victims and families. If that's even still legal. I guess just don't do it in front of an abortion clinic. Well, let's go back to the United States. Got some chud on chud action here. A very predictable debacle involving kick streamer CHUD the Builder has become a hot topic pertaining to the First Amendment and racial division. Predictable for two reasons. One, white people were always going to have a reaction to the two-tier justice system being enacted against us. You see it, I see it, we all see it every day. We see minorities slaughtering white people. Most of the time, they're repeat offenders who have gotten off lightly for prior crimes by corrupt judges. Oh, who are the judges, Jake, you may ask? I'll tell you. Most of whom are either Jewish women or also minorities. And, you know, they'll just let them out into the world, let them kill and rape again. You know, and I'm sure there's like a mix. You know, sometimes a mix of two or three of those categories. Like there's probably a Mizrahi Jewish woman who's also half black that's a judge right now that we don't know about, but we probably will next months, years. I don't know. I'm sure we'll see her though in a headline similar to what we previously just saw or what I'm talking about right now. But the point is, white people are sick of it. That's one. Two, it was predictable because Chud's whole shtick was just starting shit with minorities, just actively antagonizing them. Not all the time. You know, I've seen my fair share of clips. Like, he'd have good interactions with people. He'd just test the waters like he does with the slur, and then maybe they're cool with it. And he'll be like, oh, God bless, man. But, like, it was always going to lead to this. Like, there's no universe where he does this as frequently as he does without no real conflict. Like, that being said, in the case, it appeared to clearly be self-defense. You know, he literally tells the dude who swung at him, like, they like farewelled to each other before it actually happened. Oh yeah, Get this. The dude he shot at, you'll never believe this, was a repeat offender. Previously tried to kill his own wife with a screwdriver and burn her apartment down. So, of course, why wouldn't he be on the streets for this interaction? Like, of course he was, dude. Like, you can't script this crap. But guy throws a punch at him. Chud pulls out a gun. He fires. Game over. You know, an attempted murder charge is currently what it is. A little ridiculous. I've seen actually a lot of people bring up the Carmelo Anthony stabbing, which is a great point when you look at his bail. You know, a lot less money for him to get out. Chud's current bail is at 1.25, $1.25 million. He'll need 125K to get out. But rightly so, people are reminding us of Carmelo Anthony going into this tent, stabbing Metcalf, I believe it's Austin Metcalf, just killing him straight up. You know, he got fundraised too. Attempted murder could just be to scare him too into falling back into a plea deal. Definitely possible, right? Like it's kind of like the cops trying to get a dude to rat his buddy out and being like, "I'll give you a Big Mac," you know, that type of psychological bullshit. Now, you have seen pro-white individuals backing Chud up either vocally or monetarily via donations. Shouldn't surprise you. Again, that's why I mentioned that during Carmelo Anthony. Shouldn't surprise you at all. Let's back up a few decades, huh? How about this? Remember O.J. Simpson? Remember that guy? I mean, dude was clearly guilty. It was one of the first internet memes. You know, I wasn't around for 1995. I was around for 2008. In 2008, it was like Chuck Norris, Bad Luck Brian, O.J. Simpson's guilty. Like, it was common knowledge. But that didn't stop every African American around the country just hooping and hollering in joy when he was found not guilty. Like, everyone, you know that one picture where like the white people, or like the juries, you know, he's announced not guilty, and he's like, the white people are like this, and like the black people are like, whoa! Like, what is that? Well, it's called racial tribalism. Backing your own race regardless of circumstance. White people for the longest time have been the only ones not partaking in it. Everyone else always has been and still does. Now, I would think it's safe to say it's getting recognized by white people again, you know, just as it was for black people in the 90s, or yeah, everyone else throughout all of history except for us now. I mean, I imagine such mentalities escalate in the future, you know, and for the kid, I mean, what can you do but just hope the best for him? You know, I have no control over the situation. It'll develop too throughout time. But again, I expect more tomfoolery like this to be in the future, you know. Not that I necessarily avow it or I'm telling you to go mirror him, but it's very predictable. It's obviously predictable, seeing how things are going in terms of racial identity and racial tension. Now, hey, at least I got some good news for you. I'm not trying to black pill the hell out of you. All right, this just happens to be the tone of the day. All right, we'll give you a little bit of a white pill here, huh? How about that? I got my point in the right way. One of these two ways is correct. Ron DeSantis of Florida, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, Clay Fuller of Georgia, and many more have been actively calling for the Hart-Celler Act of 1965 to be repealed. Kind of ties into what we've been talking about today, huh? I mean, again, are you surprised? Like, you really shouldn't be. This is a very predictable reaction to reality. That's all this is. I mean, repealing Hart-Celler is mandatory if there's going to be any real counter to Great Replacement. I mean, think of this. We've come a long way, huh? You know, like 10, 15 years ago, the thought of public officials calling for this was a pipe dream. And yet here we are. You know, this would dramatically cut off immigration from the third world. Permanently. Why? Well, just look at the numbers. I mean, a disproportionate chunk of these immigrants don't do anything productive and live off welfare. Your taxes going straight to them so they can fuck around. Oh, you're having trouble deciding between owning a home or starting a family by the age of 35? Well, don't worry. These immigrants are getting spotted by you. So that while you bleed out, like their families of 5, 8, 10, all being spotted by you. What a great person you are. And that doesn't even count the mass fraud happening, in each and every state. Like, I know it's been highlighted in recent history of Minnesota, Texas, California, but it's all over the country. Communities, when they come in mass, especially like these smaller communities, you see this in Europe as well. Just murder, rape, drug trafficking, they all just skyrocket. Like, but why? It's because we owe them something. It's because we're just so gosh darn evil. Centuries of conquest, all those inventions from since like at least the 15th century, like creating the first world. We're just so evil. We owe them the world. We should open our doors and let them exploit us. I'm sure if I go into my local Walgreens or CVS, I'd find a lot of people who also agree with me. Yeah, white privilege. Like, buddy. Our ancestors lived in sod houses and farmed the land with shitty tools over like not even I guess a little over 100 years ago. Some in the coal mines getting lung cancer out of the womb. Maybe those guys working on those skyscrapers in New York City, with no harnesses, just moving around a bunch of steel. That's your white privilege. Like, we need to remind these people that they're guests here. When I go to a foreign country, I treat it with respect. Most first worlders do. I don't overstep my grounds. I watch my mouth. And by God, I don't try to fuck over the locals via scamming or violence. And here's the thing, too. We'll take a couple steps back here because this is just the race episode, I guess. The race rundown. Like, I don't hate these people. I know that's not going to stop people from, oh, you evil, dirty racist. Like, I'm still going to say it because it's the truth. You have to understand the difference between the individual and the collective. Like, for everything I've talked about, like, it's mostly aimed at the collective. Mostly. Sure, like, there's great people everywhere, all over the world. Every country has its great people, whatever. But that doesn't mean that every single one of them should be given the opportunity of the first world on a golden platter. That doesn't mean that they have a right to live here, the right to have the access to white people. Like, that's basically what it is. And as a collective, varying across different countries, different parts of the world, I understand there's 180 some, 190 some countries in the world. They're all a little different on the scale, but there's a large amount that as a collective, they are incapable of assimilating. We're starting to realize this. I mean, if you're an individual from one of these countries and you think otherwise, then I challenge you to prove it. Prove that you are above the rest and strive to become a benefactor and not a parasite. Please. I know people that do personally, and they're appreciated, they're loved. But that doesn't mean I must ignore the reality that we are being played as the American people. Our emotions and hearts twisted and manipulated out of guilt of the past. It's emotional manipulation just for us to be sky high and fucked by 2050. Like, we have all seen the projections for 2050. We have to put our foot down, which is why this call for the repeal of the Hart-Celler Act of 1965 is a great and necessary thing. If the U.S. plans on being recognizable in the future, it was an experiment. Experiment over. Okay? Now, that's all I got today. Again, just the hottest day of racial tension ever. Because, of course, that's how we're going to start this off. Why wouldn't we? Follow me on X. That's a big thing. It's the end of the episode. If you made it this far, you might as well follow me on X. Jake Maaske, JakeMaaske. You will find me here, but not only here. I'll be hosting Disclosed Nation. I will be talking more about cultural and societal issues, not only in this country, but throughout the West. And I want to have fun with it too. Like, I'm not trying to be this guy that just has a stick up his ass 24/7, just mean mugging. Like, that's just not who I am as a person. Maybe, I'll like to talk about music a little bit. Maybe talk about the cities, the growth of certain cities. Who knows? We'll get creative with it, right? Disclosed Nation, stay tuned for that. I'm glad you were here. I'm happy that you decided to join us today. Shoot us a follow. Have a great rest of your evening, and stay blessed.